just beginning to see. Now I'm on my way. It doesn't matter to me. Chasing the clouds away.
And hello out there. Thank you and welcome to the Jameson Daglish Show. I'm your host, Jameson Daglish. I come to you a little Tuesday afternoon. It's a Tuesday evening at 6:40. Going to have a good show for you today. We've got, what we're going to do today is we're going to kind of recap the fantasy week. What an interesting week that was. Lots of high-octane performances by some of the top players in the league. Some typical performances, ones you expect, so ones that you really wouldn't expect, and ones that were just off the charts. I'm going to give you my fantasy awards of the week. We're going to get into the LSU Florida preview. Big game for the Tigers this weekend as they head down to the swamp to take on a Gator team that rebounded last week against Vanderbilt as they did their typical defensive shutdown game of a really weak Vanderbilt team for all intents and purposes. But it was coming off a crushing loss to the Tennessee Volunteers. Seemed Florida was feeling a little bit of the hangover. Took them a while to get started against Vanderbilt. Eventually, got rolling. And on the other hand, LSU, just the opposite. Well, in a different sense, is LSU coming off of a loss, coming off a week they lost their coach, and really came in, and it's what I expected, just came in, just all systems go, emotionally speaking, from an offensive standpoint, from a defensive standpoint, everything clicked on all cylinders as they destroyed a average Missouri team. They've got some good players there. They've got a few guys that can make some plays, get down the field, but LSU flexed their muscle, showed the Missouri Tigers, their fans, and the SEC that we're not done yet. We've still got some games to play. How many of those LSU are going to win, we don't know. It's remained to be seen. But it gets started this weekend in the Swamp, 11 a.m. on ESPN. This game has got some interesting twists and turns that I'm going to get to. I'm going to break this thing down for you bit by bit. Tell you what I think is going to happen, what's going to happen when LSU has the ball, what's going to happen when Florida has the ball, and what advantages do the Tigers have this weekend, and what advantages will Florida be able to exploit. Just give you a whole lot of good information on this Tuesday afternoon. Got the Major League Baseball playoffs tonight. Baltimore and Toronto looking to be a high-scoring affair. The true baseball fans in this area will be watching that. Majority maybe just channel surfing tonight. I know some guys that really couldn't care less about baseball. Me, on the other hand, I'm an all-sports kind of guy. If it's sports, if it's on, I'll be watching. I will be watching. That I can assure you. Been doing that since I was a young kid, and it's manifested itself into a 39-year-old sports fanatic. So that's what we're doing. We're going to tune in to the game tonight. Then, of course, I'm going to be all over it tomorrow. My Giants in a one-game playoff scenario, wildcard scenario, to see who gets to play the Cubbies in a best of 5 series in the divisional round. It's going to be a good one in New York. I'm going to have my stuff, going to have my Giants jersey on, going to be tuned in, dialed in, as the recruiting professor is going to turn on his baseball side and take a look into the Giants Mets and see if the Giants can move forward and keep that even year thing going on. 2010, 2012, 2014, and hopefully 2016. It's going to be an exciting game. I'm not expecting a lot of offense, but that's me. When it comes to baseball to me is an offense. Baseball is just pitching and defense. Yeah, you may say, yeah, James, that's boring. It's boring, but it's true. It takes a baseball fan, it takes a guy who played the game before to appreciate the strategy that goes involved in these playoff scenarios where literally every pitch matters. You say, well, Jameson, yeah, come on now. It's 9 innings. True. But guys, I'm telling you, in these type of games, when runs are few and far between, every pitch counts. It sets you up as a pitcher or it sets you up as a hitter. It's a guessing game. It's strategy. You've heard the term, the wheels are turning, wheels are spinning. It's constantly that way in the playoffs. It's a whole different game. Matter of fact, I've talked to guys before and girls that said that they enjoy professional playoff sports. And I'm that way. I'm really that way, guys. You know, there's 162 games in a Major League Baseball season. So in the regular season, it's, you just have to be a baseball fan to really watch it. But man, it gets in these playoffs, and that's a whole other ballgame. No pun intended. And I'll give you, before the show is over today, I'll actually give you an update, those of you that are interested, in the Baltimore-Toronto series, Baltimore-Toronto game. These two teams, which was amazing to me when I heard this statistic today, combined for 494 home runs this year. Yes, sir, 494 home runs. These teams here getting together can bring and lay the wood. They can get it going in a hurry. They can light the scoreboard up in a hurry. I'm sure there'll be a lot of overbettors tonight. Marcus Stroman against Chris Tillman. If you're asking me, I think both these guys will be out by the 5th inning. Maybe sooner than that. Of course, who knows? Sometimes you expect a high-scoring game and you get a 2-1 game. So we'll see. But if I'm looking at it from a perspective of just analyzing what's going on between these two during the year, I'm looking at an 8-6 game, and that's what I predicted yesterday on my show. I think it's not going to be a starter game. It will be a bullpen game. That is for sure. So if you're not a true baseball fanatic, tune in. Now, this may be a game you may like to see because there's going to be offense. However, if you're one that just likes to see that exciting late-inning heroics, the kind of thing that people are going to go back on in years to come and say, man, did you see that wild card game in 2016 between the Orioles and the Jays? Typically, that's going to happen in your 8th and your 9th inning. So if you want to see that memorable finish, tune in about 10 o'clock, 9:45, 10-ish. And you should see a fantastic finish between these two. Again, Stroman versus Tillman, live from Toronto. Winner will get Texas. Boston and Cleveland set to start their divisional round matchup. Dodgers and Nationals will start theirs, and either the Giants or the Mets will be heading to Chicago. Dusty Baker announced that Max Scherzer will be his opening Game 1 starter, and Clayton Kershaw will be the man for the Dodgers. And Joe Madden also set out his rotation for the divisional series as he's going to start John Lester Game 1, Kyle Hendricks Game 2, Jake Arrieta Game 3, and John Lackey in Game 4. We'll preview the Cubs in their series with whomever they have when it matches up. We're going to get each day. I'm going to preview the game, talk a little bit about it, what I look for, and give you information on it in case you want to dial in and watch. So that's what's on tap today. One thing I definitely wanted to discuss before I get to my sounds of song is how many of you out there, and you can hit the like button on my show to show me, or you can, whenever I put this show out on Facebook, you can like that as well. I want to see kind of a show of hands by the number of likes. How many of you think that Ed Ogeron is going to be the head coach next year? How many of you think Ed Ogeron is going to go, say, 9-3? Or how many even think he can beat Alabama? Me personally, with the quarterback situation, it's going to be very, very hard to beat them. You're also going to have Alabama turn the ball over. It's going to be a tough sledding for Ed Ogeron the rest of the way. But it starts Saturday. It starts Saturday in the Swamp. They're going against a ranked team on the road. And if you look at the schedule thereafter, it's tough. It is very tough. LSU may have one of the toughest schedules in the country. You have your SEC, you have Florida on the road, you got Southern Miss, Ole Miss, and Alabama, 3 straight home games. Then you go on the road to Fayetteville, at Arkansas. South Alabama, who, it's South Alabama, but they did beat Mississippi State in Starkville, Stark Vegas. And they have some capable athletes. Are these athletes as good as your typical SEC team? Absolutely not. They're average athletes at best. But they're going to be primed, they're going to be ready. And then LSU goes to play A&M. So, possible overlook game there in South Alabama. But if you ask me, looking at the whole situation, LSU, when I look at it in this perspective, from what I've seen from this team so far, it doesn't look good for them. It really doesn't. And they got 3 games on the road: Florida, Arkansas, A&M, Ole Miss, and Alabama, Southern Miss, South. I need to see what I'm going to get out of this Tiger team on Saturday before I can make the rest of my judgment. Now, my preseason prediction was 8-4. LSU, I thought they'd lose to Wisconsin. I did not have them losing to Auburn. I thought at this point LSU would be 4-1 instead of 3-2. So, unless they win a game that I said they wouldn't win, they may not be 8-4 this year. I hope they do. I hope they get down into it, and I hope LSU grinds it out, plays solid football, and comes away with more victories than I predicted. Be fantastic. But it's definitely going to be some tough sledding for sure. And I will get to that breakdown after my Sounds of Song begins. Today, I got a little bone to pick with Mr. Odell Beckham. Odell Beckham. Now, Odell Beckham has really been in the news for a while with his issues about, it all stemmed from the Josh Norman incident last year. Now Odell's turned just to a whiny, crying baby. And Amani Toomer, my man Amani, just straight told it like it is to Odell. Saying, man, come on, get it together. Nobody owes you anything. Nobody feels sorry for you. Toomer went and told TMZ that he's extremely talented in Odell Beckham. One of the best dynamic players in the NFL today. But he needs to hear the truth about how his actions are being looked at, perceived, what have you. He's looking like a little punk. A little crybaby that can't take it. It's not owning up to his own shortcomings. I mean, I'm sure if you saw how he went off on the media after the Giants lost to the Vikings. Speaking of which, Odell Beckham was nowhere to be found, and I was particularly interested because he's on my fantasy football team. But luckily I got some outstanding performances, so I didn't need Odell. Thank God for that, because he was awful. Anyhow, he goes after the media complaining about he's unfairly targeted by the refs after getting hit for unsportsmanlike conduct in the second half of that game. Odell, look, pal, nobody just targeted you. You actually put this on yourself. And last time I checked, that wasn't sportsmanlike conduct. Even if it was a borderline call, the fact you put yourself out there, those referees they're going to be looking for you. Now, they're not going to be out there targeting you, but if you start to be like a punk, like you have before, then of course they are. They're looking for you to mess up. And when you mess up, they're going to throw the flag. You're not going to get the benefit of calls. Kind of like a pitcher who's been all over the place. Hadn't been consistent. That umpire's not going to give you that borderline strike. In this case, with the penalties, Odell Beckham's not going to get the benefit of the call. And can you blame them? After what he pulled last year against Josh Norman? Really? Odell, look, got news for you. Nobody owes you anything. You're a good player, but you haven't even been in the game long enough to get that kind of respect that a Hall of Famer is going to get. Like a Jerry Rice get. Like a Deion Sanders would get. That's just not how it is. You've been in the league now for what? 3 to 4 years. I believe this is his 3rd year. You got known for that insane catch you made on Sunday Night Football. And then you had a good year last year. But you showed yourself. You showed yourself up. And now he's like, you're getting your feelings hurt. And nobody cares how you feel. You got to just play the game. Fabulous athlete. But you need to cut the shenanigans. But you can see the Giant players. It's kind of like, it doesn't surprise them. But he's doing what he's doing. They just let him be. Nobody comes to his aid. Rightfully so. But Odell Beckham needs to get it together. Because this is just it's getting old. And he needs to just calm it down. Calm it down, Odell. You're really not helping yourself out with your little comments after the game. See Derrick Rose in the news again about possible, in this case with this girl that cries, she was a victim of rape. So these potential jurors are being questioned. Thoughts on group sex? I mean, come on now, man. Are these really the questions that we're asking the jurors? I know what it is. It's the whole gang rape thing, but if I'm looking at the situation, I'm like, man, look, this is a typical situation where an athlete is set up. Of course, I don't know the full story, obviously, but I do know what I know about the girl and how she went to go file a civil suit before filing charges, which really throws up 800 red flags for me. I'm like, flag here, flag there, flag everywhere. To me, it's an obvious situation, and I think they just need to get this thing over with. The girl wants a settlement, whatever the case is. That's more than likely the case. She's not getting a settlement, so she wants to put Derrick Rose out there. And this thing is just going to get uglier and uglier. And now let's talk about there's only 2 black people on the jury, so that's going to come into play. It's just going to be a messy, messy thing before the trial even gets started. And how about, now this is just crazy. How about, if you guys are my age or older, you'll remember this name. Former USC quarterback in the late 80s. More like early 90s. Todd Marinovich has been charged with multiple criminal charges stemming from a bizarre naked drug arrest, and faces up to 3 years jail if he is convicted. Are you serious? How far have you fallen when you're found naked? This guy is found naked in a random